What is up, everybody? It is, oh man, it's after 9:09. Hey, change of pace today. I did not take the kids to school this morning. They had a special request for mom to bring them, and so that is why I am broadcasting live from my home office. And I wanted just to tell you first. Today's a big day because it's the first game of the NBA Finals. It's really exciting. So I got my Warriors T-shirt on, pretty cool. But in thinking about that, one thing that I think is really important is understanding where your strengths are. If you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, he always talks about double down on your strengths, and that was a really tough lesson for me when I was a basketball player. And so I think sports is such a great narrative for so many other things when it comes to like business skills and different things like that. And so an example of that was in high school. I played basketball, and that was like my passion. And one thing about basketball is really cool is that like we've also got a baby. My 7-month-old assistant is going to be joining us today. So anyway, in basketball, every single player has to be really adaptable, and so it's like a combination of two things. It's number one is like they have a position that is actually their strength, and it utilizes like physical gifts that they have and muscle memory, talent, and things like that. That's really been developed and honed over time. Thank you so much. But the second thing is they also have to be adaptable. Like they can't be selective about the work that they're doing. And so on a basketball team, like you might have a guy that plays power forward, and he's a guy that rebounds the ball, and he defends the bigger guys on the team, and so he's generally closer to the basket. And then the center is a guy that's even bigger, defends even bigger guys, and does some of the same things the power forward does, but maybe doesn't do as much offensively. And then you have these guys on the perimeter, and the idea is that sometimes what happens is that, in my case, I was a power forward that wanted to be a shooting guard, and so I was the guy that wanted to be on the perimeter when really my strength was to be down low and getting rebounds. The problem was that I didn't like doing that, and I felt like I wasn't going to get noticed unless I was a perimeter player. So sometimes what happens is that we have a strength that we really want. That we have, and then we have an attribute that we really want. And so sometimes what we do is we can depart from the strength that we have, and then we can chase the attribute that we really want. So in some cases, like in say like an interview setting, you may answer questions that are kind of feeding towards the attribute that you want, rather than really playing up the strength that you actually have. So sometimes people, a horrible example of this is American Idol, is that everybody wants to be like a recording artist, and yet that might not be their strength, or even more specifically, people may want to be able to sing in a certain key or in a certain range, and that might not be their strength. They may need to take it down an octave and not be as pitchy. So anyway, thinking about that, I think that it's really good to be, I think if you can utilize the people around you, whether that's like, as your coworkers, or if that's like your closest friends, the people that are going to be really the most honest with you, your boss, and if you can find out from them, explain what the attributes are that you really want to chase. And if there are certain things that you want to develop, I think that's not everything is just innate. I don't believe that everyone's just born with certain gifts. I think that there certainly are things that you might be like you might be leaning towards. For me, I didn't know that I was going to be as tall as I was, and I didn't know that my arms were going to be so freakishly long, and so that's why playing a power forward really made a lot of sense in high school. But it wasn't necessarily the position I really wanted to play. But the fact is that the downside is that sometimes what you'll do is you will only keep track of the positives of the thing that you want, maybe not necessarily the thing that you have. And it's kind of like that grass is always greener. So understanding that, like, I think going into this next quarter, whether it's like, it's June 1st, if you want to start this in June 1st, or if you whatever the reason might be, the idea is that there's an attribute that you want, but you also need to acknowledge the strength that you have. And so those two things don't have to be consistent. And even though what it is, it's kind of like, the wants versus needs. And sometimes the thing that you really want might not be the thing that you really need. And so if you get together with somebody, I would definitely recommend, if you're working in an Arthur Murray dance studio, get together with your supervisor, your franchisee, set some goals that are based around, let them know, be very honest about the attributes that you really would like to have, and then find out from them and get honest with them and find out what are the things that you currently do that are strengths, because you may have something that really got your foot in the door. Now a dance studio example of this is I went gung-ho to become an executive, and I didn't really care what kind of executive it was. It didn't even matter to me. So when the new student director position opened up in the school that I started in, I was gung-ho for that position, and I painted the picture and I adjusted the narrative to make it seem like I'd always wanted that position, when in fact being in the new student department wasn't really one of my strengths. And so that was something. It was something that I wanted, but it wasn't necessarily like the strength that I had. And realistically, had the supervisor position opened up, that was really where my strengths were. And had that been available, that really would have fit my strengths much better. Unfortunately, I didn't get the position, and it was a tough thing to understand at the time. But the way that it worked out perfectly. So anyway, I hope you have a great June. I hope that you're. I appreciate you guys tuning in and leaving comments. And tomorrow is Friday, and we're gonna do Q&A Friday tomorrow. And if you haven't checked it out already, I'm loading all of these up onto a YouTube channel. It is so early stage that there's not even channel art yet. It's just like this blank thing. But that's like getting in on the ground floor. So I appreciate the people that have subscribed so far on the YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, I've left the link in the bio on this Instagram account, and you can check it out. So I hope that's helpful for you. Remember, there are more strengths that you have. Unfortunately, you might turn a blind eye to the strengths that you absolutely have, because maybe you're so focused on the attributes that you want. And just remember, like, you can have it all, but just compartmentalize it, because sometimes what you'll do is you'll turn a blind eye to something that you're doing really well in the process, and it'd be a bummer if you forgot about one of your strengths in the meantime. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and happy Thursday, and go Warriors.